Welcome to the Mindfully Masculine podcast. This is Charles. Okay, in our last episode, Dan and I discussed the 75 hard challenge and my failed attempt. In this episode, we will discuss his successful attempt, how he completed it, what was easy, what was hard, and the lasting benefits he believes that he'll go away with from completing it successfully. Please check our website, mindfullymasculine.com, for video episodes, audio episodes, anything we feel is worth sharing, and enjoy the episode.
Good morning.
Hello again, Dan. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
Good. Okay, so we have already recorded but not yet released a post-mortem on my 75 hard experience because I did not go 75 hard. I went 26 soft or something like that. So we'll release that episode where I give up and talk about giving up and failing and all those applicable terms. But you just finished yours successfully. You did the whole thing.
I did.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Let's talk about, I guess the main things I want to know is what was harder than you expected, what was easier than you expected, and what lasting benefits. So cover those and wherever else the conversation takes.
Yeah. What was harder than expected was actually sticking to the diet. For me, and I guess I should have expected that at the beginning, but I gave myself a generous amount of calories, and basically I did a if it fits your macros type of diet plan, right? So I didn't really care about protein.
Because the program lets you pick whatever diet you want to do, but it's got to be something
somewhat
healthy and more restrictive than your normal everyday diet.
And no cheat meals and no alcohol.
No
it's part of that. So what I did was I basically said, all right, look, I'm gonna eat an average of 2,800 calories over these per day over these 75 days, and that was a pretty generous amount I felt based on tracking my calories for other diet programs. But I was always up and down, all over the place, depending on what I was doing. And some days I was at 3,500, 4,000 calories, and other days I'd come in at 1,600, depending on what was going on. That was definitely challenging.
210,000 calories for the total challenge.
Thank you for that math. Yes.
That's a lot.
So what I did was I created a spreadsheet that was able, and I think I've talked about this before, was able to then balance out because I knew I wasn't going to be able to do 2,800 calories exactly a day.
Right.
What it was on the days that I went over, it would automatically subtract that from the remaining calories I had for that week or that month, whatever that is, and spread it out, right? But it was always trying to keep me about 2,800 calories a day. So what I did was I'm definitely grateful for the present, but my girlfriend had planned a cruise for us for my birthday, which happened to be the last 5 days, day 71 through 75 on a freaking cruise. I listen, she couldn't change it without spending a lot of money and she invited people anyway. So I just looked at this as it's going to be an extra challenge. Like things do start to get easier as they become part of your daily routine, each one of these tasks. But that was a challenge. I had never been on a cruise before without gaining a ton of weight. I've never been on a cruise before where I was monitoring when I was eating, monitoring when I was drinking. So not only
working out 90 minutes a day,
working it twice, once outside too, right? So so they had gyms, and occasionally I'd go to the gym or whatever. But I had to do this every single day. I had to be outside every single day. Not only was it the last 5 days on a cruise ship, I got the drink package, and I made use of the drink package for the water, the gallon of water. I had 8 to 9 bottles, 10 bottles of water every day. So it was great, actually. So that was a little bit easier on the cruise because I could go almost anywhere, just get a couple of bottles of water, and I'm good. But there's also this thing called Milton, the hurricane that came. And yes, we avoided it, but it meant that we still got a lot of rain. The seas were a little choppy. Going outside, and on this is a newer boat, they didn't have a track that goes all the way around the boat. No, there was seating outside that went almost all the way around the boat. When we were at sea, for my workout, I had to do a 95% circle around the boat and kind of navigate around chairs and walls and things like that. Look, it wasn't that big of a deal, but it was raining a couple of times too.
Did just going outside and finding a spot to do jumping jacks, did that occur to you, or would you have hated that?
I would have hated that.
Yeah.
I would have hated that. But then we went to one of the islands, and we got off. We were able to walk around. My girlfriend was amazing, and she supported me. She'd always do the outdoor workout. She always did the outdoor workout with me and that walk around the island. So it was great because then we got to check out what was going on, all the activities and all the things you could do on the island through the workout. So there was these nice little benefits. In terms of what was easier for me than I expected was Probably the water, because I have been drinking quite a bit. So that I never really struggled with that, or the 10 pages a day of reading.
Yeah. The stuff that you're
really
close to doing is going to be the easiest.
So I stopped reading books. I was always listening to them. So I thought that would be more of a challenge. But I actually started to really enjoy that kind of peaceful moment that I had to schedule in for myself in the morning to get those 10 pages in.
Okay. And what are you looking at as a long-term benefit or benefits from doing this? Like, because you don't look any better.
Yeah. I did lose about 13 pounds, again, from the time I came back from our trip to Armenia.
Gotcha.
I was carrying a lot of water weight, granted. I do feel like my pant size has gone down, and so my shorts are fitting a little bit. And I actually ran into a situation on the boat where I ran out of belt holes, and so so my pants were hanging on me a little bit. It was a good problem to have.
Yeah, of course.
And I haven't had that with that belt ever before. Now, granted, so that was 75 days of working out and monitoring my calories. So I lost a little bit of weight there and in the places I wanted to. So I was happy about that. And that's what all of us should be using to measure our progress when it comes to weight loss, not the scale. Toss the scale, because it doesn't show you, and even if it does do body fat, it's not exactly accurate, and it's gonna bring you down. And you get an old pair of jeans, something that used to fit. I did get into routines. It forced me to be more diligent and honoring the appointments I made with myself in my schedule. So I've been for years making like these appointments on my calendar to do things that are beneficial to me, either health-wise or if I'm trying to start up my coaching business, whatever that is, and tasks for those things. There was more on the line here with the 75 hard for me. So I was forced to look at my calendar and honor it more often when I had these appointments to do these 75 hard tasks. And by doing that, that also forced me to be more diligent about anything else that I wanted to do, right? And it also showed me that when I was out doing an outdoor workout and it was raining outside and I needed to get it done, and I'd walk past like one other person on my route, whereas normally I'm walking by 10, 15, 20 people on a sunny day.
The rain.
There was like a little bit of a camaraderie when we passed each other, and it was just a sense of pride. And that does build up over time. And you do find ways where you get bored and you find ways to challenge yourself a little bit more mentally anyway. And sometimes that's through physical exertion, like seeking out maybe a little bit of bad weather to do that outdoor workout once in a while, or finding ways to push yourself a little bit more in the gym, whatever that is. You start to build that baseline level of confidence and almost seeking out that discomfort. And that and walking consistently, I come up with a lot of creative ideas. I come up with a lot of solutions. So by forcing myself to walk every day, that helped build some solutions, is the best way to put it, and some ideas for things that I'm working on, my personal projects. And it motivated me in that respect. What also helped was reading that book from Frizella. And so it's a thick book, it's a quick read, it's big font, but there are things in there that he mentions that resonated with me in terms of why it's important to do some of these things. And it did motivate me to want to do the 75 hard and finish it, as well as continue on with the Live Hard program. There's 3 additional phases after 75 hard. And yeah, it's knowing he's gone through this. I've also, in his circle, there's a few people that he mentions in that book. I have been exposed to some of those other authors and people. So Brad Lee is one of them. And as I've listened to Dean Graziosi, he's mentioned 75 hard or similar concepts.
Right.
So I'm seeing a lot of overlap in the different people that I'm listening to in terms of personal development. So that's definitely helping enrich. We talked about that all the time. When you're hearing the same message from multiple different sources that you respect,
right,
there's some sort of value there, right? And I've been through that, listening to a lot of podcasts and audiobooks and things. I've been pulling that in. So that's gotten me excited about it. And just also changed my mind, my state of mind to talk about less of the things that I want to do and actually start doing them and not talking about them as much, because I feel in the past I've actually done myself a disservice by talking about them. I've exerted energy on them and fooled myself into thinking I'm actually doing them when I'm not actually doing them. I'm just talking about them and fantasizing about them, right? I think I felt a shift during 75 Hard in terms of realizing, shut your mouth and start doing the work, and then talk about it a little bit more once it's done. You have something tangible to talk about. I've always had that little inkling, but this really solidified me. And I think that's the biggest difference maker for me by doing that 75 Hard. And Frisella talks about that in the book too, in terms of there's a lot of people who will talk about doing things, but don't actually do them. And the value in the world that you bring to the world comes in action and not just ideas. And I know I've spent too much time in thinking about ideas because it feels great. I do it. I love brainstorming. I love it. But when it comes time to the action, that's where this program is, by making me uncomfortable intentionally multiple times. When I feel that uncomfortable part when it comes to taking action, I now have the confidence and the tools and the skill set and the will to overcome and keep going.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, congratulations. I can definitely speak to how easy it isn't to finish, because and you can listen to that episode. The gallon of water got me to give up, and I gave up before I didn't really have to do a single walk in the rain. It worked out where I was able to keep my eye on.
And that wouldn't have been a problem for you, I don't think.
Nah, not really.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have minded walking in the rain, but I didn't have to walk in the rain. I was just able to look at, every morning I would say, hey, Google, good morning, and it would tell me the news, the weather, all that stuff. And if it was going to rain in the morning, then I would just be like, okay, I'll do my walk at night. And if it was to rain at night, I'll do my walk in the morning. And just dodge it that way. But I certainly never got to the point where I was looking forward to walking in the rain, and don't know if I would have or not. Not sure about that. But yeah, it's a good program. And I think if you can push yourself to do it, I'm sure you feel very accomplished having finished something that a lot more people start than finish. That's for sure. In this room, the rate's only 50%.
A lot of the things to be fair, I was doing them for being a diabetic. I needed to track my calories. It wasn't challenging for me to stick to the 2,800 calories, because a lot of times if you set some sort of diet program like that, there's a lot more involved other than just changing what you're eating. You need to track it. And that's another habit that you have to develop, right? And being diligent about that, right? And that takes time and energy if you haven't already created that habit. That didn't take any time or energy for me. I didn't, right. That's something that I already did, right? Drinking that much water, I was drinking almost that much water anyway. Again, very little change in terms of that. That being said, if I came from a place where I wasn't doing any of those things to begin with, that takes away time and energy from being able to do the other things for 75 Hard, as well as all the other things in life, right? So I can see that it's an extremely difficult program to do depending on where you're starting from. So that being said, I am going to try to continue on and do the Live Hard program, where you're doing a phase 1. You're adding 3 additional tasks to the 75 Hard. Cold shower for 5 minutes every morning, right? You have to set your visualization and your intentions for 10 minutes at night and think about what you want for your future, right? And then the other part of that is you have to add 3 critical tasks that will move your life forward and get that done every day, right? So all of those things, those are going to be challenging. So for example, my shower doesn't get cold enough here at the house, so I have to shower at the gym. I don't normally even go to the locker room in the gym. Now I have to properly prepare everything for the gym, including the time it's going to take to shower before I start work. So I'm adjusting so many different things in my life. And thankfully, this is only 30 days, but it's 30 days in a row. And that's going to be a challenge for me. I think phase 1, I'm concerned about me finishing phase 1 based on this. Reading that book really helps set what his intention is for this. So
it's not just about checking a box.
It's
actually experiencing something different.
It's the mental changes that you need to create that are extremely uncomfortable, and he facilitates that through the physical uncomfortableness. And so once you realize that, you should be feeling uncomfortable and not looking forward to it and dreading these showers. That's where you're supposed to be.
Dread might feel like a little strong of a...
So, I mean, he interviews like Navy SEALs and elite military people. And one of the questions that he asked was, or somebody asked them was, how do you prepare for freezing waters, and how do you get comfortable with it? And the SEAL was like, you never get comfortable.
Yeah, if it's hard enough, you're never going to be ready for it.
And the point is, he makes is, in life, there will always be things that you're not going to be ready for. There's always going to be things that make you extremely uncomfortable. So try to introduce those elements when you have some element of control.
Right. Yeah. Voluntary hardship.
Right. So that you know how to handle it, and you don't need to think as hard, and you don't suffer as much, or you can get back on the horses very quickly.
Right. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you. You're the one who gave me this idea.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. I'm grateful to you for introducing me to it, and you saw some value in it. And yeah, it's been one of the biggest mindset shifts for me that I can remember. Yeah. I can't say I enjoyed every minute of it, but there's more of it that I enjoy than not. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, what I was going to say with the Live Hard, the Live Hard program, I'm taking a month off. You can take as much time off as you want in between 75 Hard and phase 1. And so I'm taking about a month off, and I'm actually going to do the last week before I start phase 1, I'm going to simulate all the things I need to do for phase 1. So that I can work out the kinks, and I can reduce the friction that it's going to cause, so that I'm more likely to be successful, so I can go and have all of the right things. I might be missing something that I need in the mornings that I bring with me to the gym. I might not. Maybe the gym showers don't get that cold. Like, I haven't tried that yet, right? Yeah, so maybe I need to find somewhere else to go instead. Yeah, so I'm literally practicing that. So my piece of advice is anybody who's going to attempt any actual diet program or big change is, before you set your mind where you're saying, okay, this is the date that I'm starting. We all do that, right? And
definitely figure out what it is that you got coming.
Practice that before you set that mind, your mind in that state, because that when you do that, I feel like you're also then setting the bar of what failure is, right? And I would say is, 1, practice as much as you can of that thing before you say I'm officially starting. And 2, maybe also think about in advance is, if this doesn't work for me, or if I fail for whatever reason, what kinds of things can I do then afterwards? What does that recovery look like? How much time am I going to give myself before starting something else or starting that over again? Or what adjustments am I willing to make if I'm not exactly compliant with what I'm setting that bar up to?
Yeah.
If you have those tools in your back pocket before you even start, I feel like you're a lot more likely to be successful in your bigger goal, whatever that might be.
Yeah, and also just, and this is something that you learn when you're a weightlifter and you're trying to specifically focus on not just the aesthetics of looking better, but getting stronger and getting new PRs. Training yourself to understand what almost failing feels like is very valuable. And with 75 Hard, getting ready for it, and okay, what does it feel like when I've had a busier day with work than I expected, and now I have to go walk 2.5 miles at 11 o'clock right before I go to bed? And just knowing what it feels like to say, okay, I haven't officially started yet, but this is what it feels like to realize, oh crap, it's 11 o'clock and I haven't done my outside workout yet. And then either getting up and doing it, or choosing, okay, I'm on the dress rehearsal, so I don't have to do it, so I'm going to skip it. And then just knowing what that feels like before it's
for sure
actually on the line is valuable.
So that brings me up to another point of a thing that was very valuable for me to learn, was to get all of those things, all the tasks for 75 Hard done as early in the day as possible.
Yeah, not doing that with the water is what killed me.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, between that, but like when I had flights, I flew out to visit my buddy Mike for his 50th, and there was a time zone. It was the Pacific time zone, and my flight out the next day or back to the East Coast was like 9:30 a.m. But the point is, though, like, I needed to get as much done before my flight in the morning, because who knows? It's a long flight. Who knows if it gets delayed? When I land, who knows what kind of energy I'm going to have? I literally, got up at freaking 2 a.m. in order to get the workout. I did a walk. I did my workout in the gym. And so what was nice was, another thing I figured out when you're traveling get a room on the same floor as the gym and ideally close to the gym. Make sure that gym is open 24 hours if you can. That made it so much easier for me to, one, also get free water because they have the water, filtered water in the gym instead of having to pay for it. And also getting over to the gym was really easy. It was just literally a 2-second walk versus having to go to the elevator. All these little things, it doesn't sound like a big deal, but when you're tired and exhausted, it's a real easy way for your brain to grasp onto that and go, it's too much work. I'm not going to, I'm going to give up kind of thing, right? Reduce that friction. But yeah, I worked out in the gym at 2 a.m. You have to wait 3 hours before that walk. Then I was able to then go on my walk in the dark again at 5. But what was nice was it wasn't dangerous. It was near a corporate park.
Okay, gotcha.
I got lucky. I didn't plan it that way, but it was nice. There was like a lot to look at. I felt safe at any time of the day, even though I had no idea what the neighborhood was like.
Yeah.
And I was able to get done by 6. And then all I had to do was work on my water most of the day. I got the reading done in between stuff. Yeah. Get it done early in the day. And that helped me realize that if there's something that's important to you that you really want to get done, regardless. Do it early when you've got the control of your day at that time. You have a lot of energy at that time. Get it done. Get it done first. Eat that frog.
Did me in with the water. There were a lot of days where I had not started on my water till 2 p.m.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So now not only is it the inconvenience of drinking all this water, it's the misery of knowing, okay, I've got to rush through this. I'm going to be peeing nonstop. And and I just couldn't get myself to care enough to start early on the day.
And so this is a great example.
Set myself up for failure, not success.
This is a great example of how sneakily doing anything new really is more difficult than we realized because it affects more things than we realize. So for you've got some long drives. And so I know why you didn't want to drink that water before you left on that drive, because now it required, if you did, you would have had to pull over much more often than you were used to go use the facilities, right?
Yep.
Also sitting there being uncomfortable driving, and now it's not because you have to pee, and maybe you can't pull over right away to pee, so it's you're not feeling as good, and it takes longer now to get to the office. So that means you need to leave earlier. So now, so you got to leave earlier. Well, how does that affect your morning? What else? What other things now are you not able to do or need to reschedule around your morning?
The worst was the days where I was living in Bradenton and driving here in the morning for a podcast, and I literally had to stop 5 times between. So it was much easier to just say, I'll just have my normal coffee and stop once, and then I'll start on the water once I get to Dan's house. And then we got busy talking, we got busy recording, and next thing you know, it's 1 or 2 in the afternoon, and I haven't really touched my gallon jug of water yet.
And I think a lot of
times... And the other thing was, real quick, I also just wasn't bought in. I didn't buy it. I didn't buy that it was important.
Oh, the why has to be there.
And purpose on the water, it was absolutely not there.
So the other piece of this too is when we are doing these things, so let's say we're preparing for a trip or something like that, right? And we're making a change. That one time where you might need to get up a little bit earlier and change your schedule or whatever isn't a big deal. But when you have to do that every single day, multiple days, it's a big deal. It becomes a really big deal. That being said, too, is if your why is not clear, if your why isn't strong enough, and if you haven't made it to the point of where it becomes emotional for you, right? We talked about like the 7 levels deep exercise I learned from Dean Graziosi, which is you keep asking yourself why it's important to you. You go 7 times. And the shift is on the surface when you first start asking those questions, it's a mental why. It's a mental purpose why. But then if you keep going down and down at about the 5th or 6th question of why it's important to you, it moves from your head to your heart. Now it becomes emotional.
Right.
And as we all know, we're emotional beings, and that's what really drives us, right?
Yeah, sure.
If you haven't really thought it through and done that exercise, right? So, the water, for me, it wasn't like, oh, this is driving my purpose, right? Or the why. But it was tied, the overall, knowing that if I failed at this one thing, the 75 hard program is a failure too.
Right.
That's what made it important to me, because the overall accomplishment of the 75 hard hit me in an emotional place of where I really need to get this thing done. Part of that, I'll be honest with you, was me turning 50, right?
Okay, yeah.
That was it's a big number, right?
Die before
Yeah,
50,
right,
so hopefully I won't have to worry about taking dramatic like that.
So part of that part of it was looking back and going, okay, I'm turning 50. Have you really pushed yourself and become and done the things that you're capable of doing? Or have you just popped out on it and not really been your best self? And that was what was really driving me was, I'm going to do this for my 50th birthday to prove to myself that I can deal with uncomfortable stuff, because I felt I haven't had to deal with a lot of. And that kind of goes back to a lot of the things that I've been hearing. A lot of these stories of really successful people have had some significant hardship in their life to draw from. And Tom Bilyeu, who founder of Quest Nutrition Bars, he talks about going to the dark side and dabbling in there once in a while in order to really do things that you don't want to do. You need to find something that causes you pain or caused you pain to pull from that as motivation. And that was really interesting to me to hear that, because I definitely felt, and that's the key word there, felt. When I thought of something that caused me pain in the past, I felt it. It motivated me. It was literally like somebody lighting something under my butt. Whereas doing things because I know they're going to be beneficial to myself or beneficial to help other people or whatever, motivating, yes, but it's just not as strong. And so through that process, I've recognized a couple of points in my life where I did feel really bad about myself, or there's a situation where I felt really bad that I was able to then draw from when I really did not want to do some of this. So look for those pain points to pull from. Don't dwell in them by any means. But for me, I see that it fits. It fits for me that the carrot and stick model is mostly stick. It's pain avoidance. And a lot of times even that ecstasy and things is some sort of mask of avoiding some sort of pain. So it might be, hey, you didn't grow up with a lot of money and you suffered, maybe your heat got turned off as a kid, or you had to move to different places, or you always wanted a toy that you couldn't have, things, a lot of pain, didn't have enough food to eat, whatever that is. And maybe now is you get really excited when you're making a lot of money and that it feels great, but that's a security. Now you have that security blanket. You never have to worry about having the heat turn off or not having enough money for food, right? And that's actually the pain that you're avoiding by having those wonderful things that get you excited, at the big house, the car, whatever that is.
All right. So if I'll go ahead and volunteer, Dan, if you're somebody who is interested in 75 Hard or has tried and failed and you'd like a little tiny bit of free advice, email dan@mindfullymasculine.com. If you want a lot of detailed advice, be prepared to open your wallet.
I'm happy to help and just have conversations about it and share my experiences and help you prepare and help you make adjustments as well. So that's where my skill set really lies.
Yeah, I would say even the first time I tried it, I also gave up on it because of the water, but I only went 4 days. And the second time I went like 26 or 27 days. And I don't see myself trying it again because, maybe something will change where I recalculate the value in it. But until that happens, I'm not going to try it again.
So let me ask you, what do you think the difference was between the 4 days and the 26 days?
Going through at the same time as you and talking and having somebody talk to you about it.
Yeah.
I think that was.
So community support is a big part of anything that you're trying to do as well, right?
Yeah.
Get somebody that's a big element for moving forward with success, is getting that community support. Yeah. Also having, I think, a mentor to look to for advice and guidance. And for me, that was Frizella in that book. He talked about what he did for his specific, each of those areas. That was what was helpful for me.
I think we can stop there. You and I have an appointment to do some paperwork, which we'll clue everybody else in on down the road. But it's going to be a busy weekend for both of us.
Oh my God.
I'm looking forward to telling stories about afterward.
It's going to be a busy week between now and next week as well. Not just for me, for you, for sure. Yeah.
We'll get into some details on that. Maybe, next Wednesday we'll be back here. We'll be recording some episodes.
Wow, there's going to be a lot to talk about.
Yes.
On the next episode. Oh my God.
I'll have about 2,000 road miles between now and then to talk about. That'll be fun. And we'll get into some...
And very different types of miles.
Absolutely. All right, cool. All right, I'll talk to you again soon, Dan.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the entire episode of the Mindfully Masculine podcast. I'm sure Dan would appreciate you hearing every aspect of his success, unless you fast forwarded to the end for some reason and you're just listening to the outro, which is weird, but still appreciated. Please check out our website, mindfullymasculine.com, for episodes as well as any news we have worth sharing. And thanks so much.